Hey, here's a question for everyone in America. How would you feel if the United States military, through the Provost Marshal, dispatched, say if you will, a platoon or a company of military police to go into every county, into every state, and then do what we call a scan, a vibrational scan of all the judges wearing black robes? Okay, scan their identity. And if they're not running a love frequency, they get arrested, taken off planet. What do you think about that? See, one of the things that I realized, and this was particularly true when I think of when I was on the island of Hawaii 2 years ago, when I was camped out with a tent, and I had 3 state police officers come up to me, and they were asking me questions about this and that, and there was fortunately an older guy there who was probably, I don't know, maybe late 50s, early 60s, and I said, first of all, let me identify myself. I'm White Bear Clan, AB positive bloodline. I'm a First Law Nation Indian. I have more authority than all 3 of you. Okay? And that's because I'm native on this planet. Okay? I'm First Law, which means I'm love as a law. Okay? You don't have the authority to impose your will on anybody on this planet. You understand that? Okay? We're the peacekeepers here. We're law enforcement, not you. Okay? Which means we could have your blood pulled up, and if you're alien, you should be removed. Okay? If you're not in accordance with love as a law, then who do you think enforces that? The groundskeepers do. Okay? You want to know what happened? That guy that was state police understood that and acknowledged that. That means he knew what the law was. Now translate that into your local law enforcement. Okay? Which means, imagine that the military tells law enforcement, all you guys that work in law enforcement, okay, we're going to take blood tests of all of you. Okay? And if you're not running RH positive factor, which means you're native here, then you have no business wearing a badge and a gun. Because a badge and a gun represents fear-based energy. Because on this planet, which is First Law, is what love is. Okay? Which means we're removing all the fear off this planet. To restore what? The light, which is what love is in living spirit. So I've always known this since I was a child. For example, when you have guys running around in black and white. Notice black and white? Why do you think they have black and white police cars? Duality. Binary. Either or. Okay? So now you have police officers that represent fear because that's a message. You see? Enforcement for you, okay, in order to obey, is used through fear. That's lower frequency. That's 100 million hertz. That's a long wave. That's not a high-speed short wave. Okay? So that means, imagine we have a new requirement out of the United States Constitution that says nobody in law enforcement, okay, will be allowed to enforce anything if they're not running a love vibration. Since love is the law on this planet. Now, you can't live in a contradiction between black and white in a planet where love is the law. You either are what love is in living spirit or you're not. That's a measurement of your coursework. So when I was a child growing up, I thought, okay, let's see if we can means test what they talked about, the Declaration of Independence and self-rule. Self-rule means you don't have the right to abuse your authority to try and impose your will on me. Otherwise, that's a violation of the Declaration of Independence, the very purpose upon which the United States Constitution was even brought into bearing. So they're a living contradiction. So I realized as a child it was all bullshit. Okay? So that's why all these judges that are in all these courtrooms, all across the United States of America, okay, got to get removed. Most of them don't know shit for shino about what the law is on this planet. Here's another example. I mentioned this to the Reno State PD. Okay, not Reno State Police, excuse me. Reno City Police. I said, you know what a star nation is? How much time have you ever taken reading a star map? How big is your perception? I said, well, think about this. You know what Title 26 is in the Uniform Code of Military Justice? It's called the Law of Peace. Okay? You know what a peace treaty is, right? You got the United States Constitution that says that the treaties are the supreme law of the land. You're on the land, right? You're not in the water, you're on the land. Okay? So when a peace treaty is in effect, what we're talking about is a peace treaty between what? Star nations. Because not everybody on this planet is running the same star nation bloodline family, if you will. First mother, okay? Who is your first mother? Now we're back to the RH factor. Was your first mother a lizard? Lizards are predators. Now we understand why it is a guy was trying to signal, okay, to repair the hybrids. Remember I covered that in a previous video? So what this means is that when you have anybody, actually anybody, it doesn't matter whether you're law enforcement or not, that tries to impose its will on you, on another being, okay, that law enforcement officer has to understand, for instance, when you come up to me and try to impose your authority on me, I represent a star nation. So if you're trying to impose your authority on me towards trying to drain my battery, okay, that's considered an act of war against the star nation, for which that law enforcement officer can be picked up by the military under Title 26. Okay? You can't tell me that you abide by the law and then be a contradiction to the very law you say that you enforce. So this is where everybody in law enforcement has to sort of hyperspeed their learning up. Okay? Because so much of the truth was hidden from everybody. Okay? That's why everything is accelerating the way in which it is. See, if it was up to me and I was making a decision, I'd have them all removed. Because look what they do. They try and impose their authority on everybody every day. So if love is the law on this planet, either love is the law on this planet or it isn't. Which is it? I don't like to live in a contradiction. Either it is or it isn't. That's why it's being restored. The living light, which is what love is in living spirit, is being restored. That's a big job. As Patty said to us one time, that solving this is not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to be all that easy. It's going to take time. So what's the easiest and fastest way in which to do that? Raising the amount of light that's in here, huh? Now we're reducing the amount of electrical resistance upon which people are feeding off each other. Because that veil, that harmonic veil, which is keeping that lower frequency down, okay, which means lower density consciousness is being held down, which means the electricity, the electrons and the oxygen are not firing, so the cells and the pH go up, in which you're experiencing the higher frequency energies that you are. Now you're not seeking to hold somebody else captive and imposing your will on other people. That's coursework. The living light of what love is coursework that will help free us. That's why we're here. Okay? It's like, wake up. All the light is in here. It is more light that liberates your state of consciousness. So I always perceive cops basically as what I call gatekeepers. And in a very real way in which the cosmos works, as I explained in a previous video, is to hold the energy down to prevent the ascension of moving through higher hyperdimensional space. Where your sovereign light body expands its light that allows us to move through more geospatial, hyper dimensional heavenly realms. So they don't want you to grow your spirit body in the light to make it through the gates. Because they are lower density consciousness predators. That's why all the crime families are going down. Because law enforcement was protecting demons. Because they do it at the street level, at the court level, at the executive level, through the cities, the counties, the state, and then the federal government. So this is where we call rolling it up from the street up and from the top down. Now, if you want to think of it in a hyperdimensional way, we can think of it as a collapse of 3D to expand the light in every dimension. Where the speed of what everyone is experiencing more light between the single geometric point from which all love and all light come through every dimension. Which means the speed, the hyperspeed that's traveling through all the dimensions is increasing. That will eliminate, as I mentioned in a previous video, we want more lighthouses, expand the light. Remember when I mentioned a couple weeks ago when I could experience through my heart and my state of consciousness, the light had risen in the Milky Way galaxy. It was expanding. We're expanding the amount of light, which is higher frequency speed in geospace, geometric space. We're filling up the space with higher frequency energy, more light in every dimension. That's one way to solve an engineering network sound and light problem, ain't it? Filling up more space, hyperspeed. So anyway, I thought I'd share that because this is true. Patience, everything's going to be just fine. This is where I mentioned in a previous video about implicit trust. And that's very difficult when people have experienced an enormous amount of trauma. And learning how to let go of that everything is going to be just fine. Okay? It's letting go. Learning to let go. Everything is going to be okay. And love is what heals us, and love is what does that. That's why so much light is in here right now. They lost. Anyway, have a beautiful day. The sun is up. I love the warmth. I love this girl. I love this female macabre. My God. Thank you for all your energy, girl. I love you all. Have a beautiful day.